Schmidt.
Hey, Rob.
Everybody.
Hi, Stu.
Hey, Stu.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Linda, too. Great.
That's 7.
It is
The 7.
4 o'clock and
It's 6.
I'd like to call the
7.
business meeting of the Bennington County
Yeah,
Solid
'cause two of
Waste
those are me.
Alliance.
Two of those are me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Two
two
others
of
are
you.
coming in.
No, I don't see anyone right now.
26. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We need one
okay.
So I'm calling our meeting to order, but it's Wednesday, December 11th, 4 p.m. Do we have a quorum so that we,
No, we are one individual shy of a quorum.
okay, so we can't vote on the minutes? So you want to start right into your report?
Sure, let's go right into the quarterly spending report. Hey, everybody. Yeah, Nick here if you wants. Just look over to page 5 of the board meeting packet. You can look at our spending for fiscal year 25 quarter 1. We are we're within budget. It's the first quarter is actually, tends to be a lot more spending than other quarters, specifically because of the household hazardous waste program. So, what we saw in fiscal year 24, if you look there last year, quarter 4, that was a delayed invoice for a long period of time. There was a correction because they were charging us sales tax, and we had to get the invoices canceled and reissued from earlier in the year. So that's why our quarter 4 spending is a little high in fiscal year 24. Fiscal year 25, again, we have sort of that level too. We also operated for more than 6 weeks. Generally everything else is within track though, for generally meeting the fiscal year 25 budget. And no surprises or changes in the way we've done operations this last quarter.
Any questions on the budget?
None.
Great. All right, the next item on the agenda is the household hazardous waste facility. We're going to do a little bit of a, here's the report on that. So the first thing to mention is at our last meeting that we held in September, I did mention that there was a few small violations that we had received. Chiefly, the largest one was aisle clearance, not having access directly to the waste for regular access, and then the other one was regular inspection safety sheets being kept on site. So those have been cleared up. We've instituted new plans for the rest of the season after the state and federal inspector came to the site, and there clemency was offered, and there were no fines or anything for those violations that we received. So because it was a first warning for all of us, there was no issues related to the management of the facility really giving us additional costs related to that. So moving forward, we'll continue to be vigilant about those and change policies so everything will be fine with that. As far as our end of season report goes, if you look at our page 7, you can see our expenses and revenue for the household hazardous waste facility. For the season, we ended up spending, we expect to spend rather $63,000. There's one additional shipment left we have to do. We closed on October 15th, so we have until January 15th to get the last of that waste out. Most of that is just waste that we've collected from VSQGs that dropped off after the last day that we were open to the public. and there's a little bit of things, some propane tanks and some other things that are still on site, but the majority of waste was collected. Just 2 weeks after our facility shut down. Season cost was 63,442 is what our estimation is. That gives us ample money to spend what we anticipate in the next in Q4. We will of course be spending money on the hazardous waste facility again, getting it back up to speed and operations again for 6 weeks or so. The season itself, we ran the 23 weeks over the course of the summer season, and we collected 30.64 tons of waste, and we served 327 households. If you look on page 8, there's a comparison to the 2023 facility season and the 2022 event season. In 2023, we had a much shorter season. It was 13 weeks, and we collected from 225 households and about 7 tons less waste. So people did drop off a bit more waste last season, but those were the folks who probably were the most desperate because we didn't open until the end of July. So the folks were bringing in a lot. There was a question earlier in the year, I think it was from Stu, about collection rates per household and how does that compare to previous events. So I looked at our the number of households that showed up to our collection events in 2021 and 2022, and then also looked at last year 2023's facility work and 2024's. And if you look on, again, page 8, collection rate per household, it shows you that, in pounds, historically, people have been dropping off 100, somewhere in the 150-pound range for our collection events. And now in the 2024 season, closer to the 200-pound range at 187. 2023 was 211. And those numbers are hard to parse. It seems like people are bringing a lot of stuff when you say that they're bringing 187 pounds of waste per household, but that's why I put in this, comparison to it as if everything was a gallon of paint. So that's the equivalent of 16 gallons of paint per household that are being dropped off. And that feels much more reasonable. We'll often end up with some households that'll show up with 30 to 40 gallons of paint and some that'll show up with 4, sort of worth of items. So oftentimes we have very large beds of pickup trucks that we're emptying out for residents in the area. The appointments were largely clustered. If you move on to page 9, appointments by week of service, largely clustered at the beginning of the season and at the end of the season. So this tracks with a lot of what we just understand about spring cleaning and fall cleaning, people's sensibilities. August was our slowest months, with the week of August 5th being our lowest amount of attendees showing up, only having 7 appointments that day. And that was in some ways, it might be nice if we could take a little bit of a break. We understand people travel and stuff in August. I'm not sure if it's always whether worthwhile to have the facility open for those weeks where we have 3 in a row of 7 appointments, 8 appointments, and 9 appointments. But I also looked at our primary advertising periods, and all of our advertising was already during the periods of time where things are busy and people are doing cleaning. So I'll make an effort during next season to make sure that we include an advertising, a portion of our advertising budget for that midsummer period to help remind people that we are open and available. I also am not sure. I'm inquiring with the state as far as our rules as a permanent facility, whether we're required to be open every single week, or whether we just have to meet a minimum number of weeks throughout the entire season. And I think right now, once we open, we kind of have to just remain open on a regular schedule. But if it's possible to take breaks, that's something that I can bring up in the season planning when we begin to discuss that at the board meetings coming up in the spring. If you look at the hazardous waste facility appointments by town, the biggest outliers percentage-wise, when you compare the percentage of the population to the percentage of appointments that were received, are Shasberry. Shasberry had a large number of appointments compared to their population, and Manchester, unfortunately, is substantially lower the amount of appointments that we had in their population. This also will help me direct advertising dollars in the future. We'll try to get more ads into the Manchester Journal, and if anybody else has tips, specifically Rob, since you're on the call, about how to reach folks up in the Northshire. Although Dorset actually is not as bad off as far as the percentage of population versus the percentage of appointments, as far as that metric goes. I'm happy to discuss anything about the facility now.
Looking good.
There's Tom, so that we have our forum with that.
I just wanted to mention in passing, I was on a conference call this past week with other solid waste management entities, and someone from the Upper Greater Valley Solid Waste District reported they recently got their bill for a one-day event in which they had 150 cars, assuming similar number of households. And their solid waste collection bill was $53,000 for a one-day event. So it makes sense to having this permanent facility as much more amenable to cost containment than continuing one-day events.
And convenient.
Our Bennington event in the year that we listed on here, that was more than $30,000 for that. And then, as we've been told, the price has gone up since then. That tracks.
Yeah, he was doing deep breathing exercises when he got that bill, trying to figure out how to cover it before.
I guess, the one other thing to say, and this is just, on page 7, we talked about the facility expenses and revenue. I put a fee collected per household on there. We do ask for $5 fee from everybody who arrives. If they arrive and don't have the money, we still take their waste. We do not, reject them. Other solid waste entities charge a higher fee, and that's something, again, in season planning next year we can discuss. I feel like right now this seems pretty reasonable, but up in Central Vermont and Montpelier and Barry, they're charging as much as $20 per carload. So we do potentially have flexibility if we want to try to offset the cost to the program more by charging more for dropping off waste. Okay, so did we hear that Tom Shuey is now here as well?
Yes, we do.
All right, so that makes quorum. If anyone would like to, I guess we could move to back then to review agenda item 1, review of the minutes.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as written?
I'll make that motion, or I'll second it.
Hey, Rob. Did you get who?
The second was Stu.
Stu, moved by Tom, second by Stu. Is that right? We don't have your faces on the screen here, only the screen
Coming
share.
up.
All right.
Here I am.
Okay.
Great.
So are there any corrections or adjustments to the minutes that anyone has? Okay, all in favor of? Yes,
Just under number 3, toward the end, the zero waste event in 2025.
Oh.
It says TO.
Oh, yeah,
Yep, just a typo.
I got yeah, it would be
good catch.
much longer for them to
Yeah.
All right, we'll make that with that correction. Everyone in favor of accepting the minutes with that correction, please say aye.
I
Opposed? All right, thank you very much. Minutes are accepted.
Great. Well, speaking of that agenda item, proposal for compost committee. Just want to give everyone an update on what the compost committee has been up to. In November, we took a tour of the alarm control facility at the Bennington transfer station. And that was interesting. There was about 7 people on the tour.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So that was a nice way to see how they operate. It's certainly a much bigger operation than the tour that we did of the Dorset compost facility that we put on Cat TV. I'm sorry, rather on GNet in September, or was that August? Anyway, yeah, it's interesting to see the way they use tools, and they actually have an aerator to keep compliance with state regulations, as opposed to having to turn the piles every day because the piles are so large. So it was interesting to see things at a larger industrial scale when it comes to composting. The memorandum of understanding with Southwest Vermont Chamber of Commerce, that's moving forward. We had a meeting with Southwest Vermont Chamber of Commerce, and they do appear to be committed to having the zero waste event actually in this next summer. So again, similar to what we reported on last year, and that's not going to be, it'll be an agreement and not necessarily an MOU. But the committee is moving forward and discussing that. There's a meeting on Monday of next week. Tuesday of next week with the compost committee to finalize that agreement. And just to mention the USDA grant application, there has been no word from USDA related to that grant yet, and the status of it. I've been told by former applicants to, expect word in January at some point.
Okay.
Next item then will be outreach and events update. If Paula would like to take the microphone.
Sure. Hauler registration notice, that is an annual notice we send out to haulers to make them aware that the licensing period is expiring and they need to renew their permits with the towns of each where they operate and offer service. So you should start receiving some sort of form filled out by each of the 16 or 17 haulers we are aware of to make sure that they are on record with you to be conducting service in your given town. So hopefully you'll start seeing something, and you can let us know that you're getting this hauler license registration so that we can keep it up to date and make that service they offer available on our website. We can't otherwise. There's been a great deal of activity, especially in the past year or so, to have new upstart organizations that wish to offer curbside collection through private hauling, and they're some of them are under the radar, some are more just unaware of how the structure works within getting their permit with the state and then being registered with the town. So we just ask that you try to let us know when you become aware of a new company in your area, so we can keep the coordination going and help everybody understand, and make the public aware of what services are available in their given trade areas.
Nice.
Paula?
Yes.
Paula, Stanford received 2 of them already. One we didn't know about, so that was good. But on the form that they use, the fee is different than what the town charges. Is each town different?
I
noticed.
I think Stamford specifically has a different fee structure than the rest of the towns.
Oh.
And I
Yeah.
thought that was made clear on the form, but if it's not, I'll make sure to adjust that. But my understanding is Stamford is it $10 cheaper or something like that than the other towns?
I think we were the same. I think it was $25 hauler and fleet, I think, but I'd have to go back to
okay,
check.
so it's the same for the fleet. Oh, so the other ones have if you have multiple vehicles.
Yeah, it's $15 a single truck, $50 for a fleet, I think is
Okay.
what they had for.
Right, and Stamford is $25 flat.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
that's what we are. Don't hold me to that yet without checking with Lori. But we did find a new hauler. I said, oh, this is okay. This is good. I didn't realize the Alliance was sending them out, or was it just in your newsletter?
Well, we sent it out in a newsletter, and then we also have
Follow up a letter out this week or next week, going out to the haulers we know of record. So that's why
Okay.
we're trying to keep communication going to know when they may be just registering with your town but we don't know about them, so we can get better information to them, understanding what the protocols are and standards. for the
Okay.
state.
Thank you.
Especially being on border towns, we're getting just sort of this creep coming in from New York and Massachusetts of people
Right.
expanding their businesses into the state of Vermont.
Yeah,
Right.
quite a few folks from North Adams that are starting to do work in your area, you know, and in Town Hall as well.
Right.
So I'll review the form and I'll make sure that that correction is made, Nancy. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yep, thank you.
Moving forward, if there are no questions on that topic, Fix It Fund, we had a repair event, November 7th, just drew a blank, November 9th, in which we invited folks from the community to come and bring their items to be fixed, repaired. And the Bennington Free Library was phenomenal at putting together the event. They got 6 fixers as volunteer folks to help repair items, anything from zippers on textiles to lamps, small appliances, bicycles, a little bit of tech support on computers. Thank you, Scott. And helping folks just wherever possible. We had 28 items presented for repair, of which 16 were successfully repaired, 9 not repaired, 3 partially repaired, and the population came from Bennington, Pownell, Hoosick Falls, Arlington, and Manchester. This was supported by a grant and from
The New England Library Association?
yeah, rural libraries, small and rural library association, and it was allowed them to provide 2 events this year. So we did one in February and then this one in November because it was required to be done within 1 year's time. We haven't had a conversation if we will do it again, but we understand there's also a free store that's opening up in the former People's Bank building in Bennington that has talked about wanting to support the services of people to repair items as well, to try to keep things out of landfill and continue extended use on items. And that hasn't evolved into anything yet because they're still sort of setting up. So that might be something if you know of people that would like to offer their services to keep things out of the landfill and extend life of otherwise kaput appliances and zippers and whatever. We just let them know that's an outlet there. Going on to public outreach, what I've done for the year, kind of a wrap up. I provided outreach to 11 event organizers, 3 schools, 40 businesses, hosted booth at 20 farmers markets throughout the year, made 7 presentations at public and private spaces, some for like companies, others for like public libraries, Rotarians, that sort of thing. We filled 2 segments for public access television, created and distributed 4 newsletters, 4 each to schools and 4 to the general public on a quarterly basis. Hundreds of social media posts on topics relating to recycling education, events, household hazardous waste facility operation, and more. Wrote and coordinated distribution of press releases and advertising through other media outlets to make them aware of the services we provide. Other activities, what else are we doing? Anything else? Waiting to find out if this grant will come through, because that'll give us a real boost to help us with outreach at events.
What grant is that?
That is a USDA grant that will allow us to provide support development of a program for outreach to event organizers at public events and at municipal spaces to strengthen a facility of sort to give them training, platform to recruit volunteers regularly, and also give them resources such as reestablishing consistent permit language in town so they know when they set up a space, they got to check the materials. Yeah, and it's a $100,000 grant if we get it. It'll help cover for equipment and materials and staff time and all sorts of things. So we're excited. It'll go from March of 2025 through April of 27 if it's awarded. So we're just kind of waiting to find that out.
And our newsletter just went out, our school newsletter just went out.
Yep.
And we're gonna be doing the school newsletter in early January. The school school survey.
Yeah, that's right. I surveyed the schools coming in January. I also set the priorities for the proposed businesses that I do outreach for in the coming year. If you want to weigh in and let us know of a business that would benefit from an outreach visit, an education, and help them understand what's required for compliance or give their staff training, I'm happy to do that. Just, shoot me an email, paulacamperman@gmail.com, and I'm happy to put them on the list. We try to find companies in a variety of industries as well as geographic locations, so it's not centered on the big towns. We try to hit the smaller towns also throughout the year so that everyone understands why we're out there and how we can help folks get into compliance and just make some of their problems go away with managing waste, by making it easier. So.
Paula, you do amazing stuff, and I really appreciate all
Thank
the
you.
efforts you've done over these many years. I don't think there's any public present. I don't know, we have a couple. Any comment, any public comment? Right. So our next meeting? Or is there any other events coming up? So that's our next meeting.
Nothing scheduled as far as events go. And yeah, the next meeting will be quarterly, so sometime before April 1st. Usually we have it February, like,
March
yeah,
5th, 19th.
Definitely not the 5th, that's the day after town meeting.
Okay, that's right, that's right.
right.
19th?
19th would probably be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So March 19th. Next meeting.
That's
Any other
some more.
business anybody would like to discuss? Okay, motion to adjourn, anybody?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very
Aye.
much.
Enjoy the
Merry
holidays,
Christmas,
folks.
Everybody, happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays.
Hey.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paula.